But ladies and gentlemen, we are the CAT division, so it's the Center for Academic Technologies, and what we do is professional development related to e-learning. So when I saw the topic of this colloquium, I thought, gosh, this is as relevant as you can get. And especially in this province, where I see you have colloquia like these, we don't have to be worried at all. Because the news that I give to you is that in South Africa, we're really not far off where people are globally thinking and doing things in terms of e-learning. So UJ gives me the opportunity, just get this remote to click in, to do this research and to present it to you. And I thought, how would I categorize what we are looking at today when I refer to assessment and 21st century skills? So I thought I'd divide it into those, or place it into those three categories. 21st century teaching perspectives, we design for, and I must actually name it, design for the sake of learning. And then the current landscape in higher education. Now what is interesting is, we've heard this earlier on, about certain curriculum developments. So I thought I'd have a look, and this is research that comes from a few years now, look at what South Africa is doing as opposed to the rest of the world. And what has happened, why are we in the current higher education landscape where we are in with hashtag fees must fall and all the issues we heard of earlier today. So I thought I'd look at it in this way. Maybe I should get on stage because this remote is getting epilepsy. So let's check there. All over, everything was very much content-based. That's why I placed the Asterix, Julius Caesar, Roman guy there. This is how you do it. How do I do it? Now I have to have a textbook. The textbook will show me exactly what to do. So in South Africa, we had a lot of formative type of education, and the system that I also mentioned earlier, very westernized because of that dangerous word we are not allowed to use, colonization. And then if you look at it from the rest of the world, it was actually referred to as traditional teaching, the old Socratic way of teaching. Right, we inherited, in other words, the curriculum that we just continued with as we went along. And later on, the technology started to develop as part of our, let's say, education evolution in the world. So what happened? We had 4 provinces in South Africa in the 80s with different curricula. Then they say every 5 years, everyone must buy new textbooks according to that new syllabus. Who wrote that and who decided on that? Definitely not the students and not the teachers. Then they brought in around about end of last century, the last part of the century, the outcomes-based education curriculum, and people foamed at the mouth and violently attacked each other about it, and then they had to adapt and did different things. Then came, in the school, which we heard earlier, the National Curriculum Statement, which was modified only. And everybody spoke about that. Why am I referring to the school curricula? Because a lot of us sitting here and the students we are having are products of these curricula. So they've got a different stance on things. And then CAPS came in because people decided, no, the problem is here, the workload is too much with all the assessments and portfolios, so let's put CAPS. which is actually like a quick fix for the national curriculum. So, you know, when Windows does something wrong, they give you a new version of the program or operating system. You pay for it again, but it's actually just a patch. And now I've got a question there. The ever-increasing technology went on in the rest of the world. That's why I put it there so that it's slightly slipping over computers, cellular phones, increased in social networking, learning management systems, tablets, and whatever more is happening now. That happened in the world. We just had to adapt to it. So I'm referring to this Gardner hype cycle. Because the moment, and I've copied it directly from the article, the moment you look at how fast people adopt certain technologies and certain new inventions, you get this S-curve, typical S-curve. People are hesitant, and then suddenly it grows. Now, I've mentioned this at the previous presentation as well. So, who are involved with what is growing? This has to do with Roger's old diffusion of innovation curve. Another term that I may not use anymore is the old bell curve, which I think most of the teachers know what it actually referred to initially. And so I'm not allowed to use the term IQ, but if I look at the adoption of a population, this has nothing to do with age. This has nothing to do with IQ. It has to do with the spread of society. What is available, what is not available. These are not socioeconomic factors. These are resistance factors that bring about this curve. So we see so many percentage, 2.5% of the population is the innovators, then our early adopters, the people that sleep in front of the Apple store when the new iPhone comes out, and then the early majority, which would be the position we are in now, because we are forced to be the early majority. We have to adopt to what is happening with inventions and the way students think and learn. And the late majority, I'll get my child's cell phone because it's got a touch screen as soon as my old Nokia doesn't want to go anymore, or as soon as the numbers start fading on the button keys. Right, and then the laggards, those people that, no, but why? This is just a fad. It will blow over. So we have that among students. We, staff, I don't have to say much about because we experience this every day. So my focus group is actually this that I must think about. So I must think in terms of students who are faster than other students in adopting the technology. It's amazing how everyone got cell phones within 6 months when it hit the hype, in the hype cycle. And my question that I always ask is, do we really go for training every time we upgrade our cell phone? No, we've got the ability to adapt to these things. The problem is, how do we apply it in what we do? And that's teaching and learning. My concern is situated in this graph that Rogers published the year before last year, 2014. This is the diffusion theory, diffusion of innovation, the green line, and the Gardner hype cycle combined. What worries me is the enormous, let's just go back one, that gap between the hype cycle, the late adopters, or the majority, and the diffusion theory of the hype cycle. So tablets, phones, it seems like this small device that actually got its idea from the Star Trek movies, from the communicator, is taking up. Even iPods are smaller, MP3 players. People use these things because you can put it in your pocket. So that the difference between the two curves is becoming wider and bigger. And we have to put those people into society eventually. Right. The other confusing term for us in higher education, having to deal with people with an early curriculum, is this term blended learning. Because I mean, if I've been teaching for 20 years, and I've been through OBE, through NCS, through changes in higher education curricula, I've recurriculated stuff. Now we get blended learning. And I see people around me who do not have an education background, totally confused. And now we throw in, you must use technology as well because this is what the youngsters want. So what? And now they come in with blended learning. So all of these things are totally confusing because we've got physical, face-to-face education. And now another term that's added, on-site classroom learning and online classroom learning. Where on-site is when we can actually use tablets and phones while I'm standing here, and online means I do not have to be amongst four walls. So these things become totally confusing, and then all online doesn't have to be in a virtual learning environment. So these things all change, and what intrigued me was this report from the World Economic Forum, released in January, and it was only made available to us in South Africa on Good Friday, on the 21st of March. And what is interesting, I'll read this paragraph for you in case it is not clearly focused there. This is what the authors state there. We stand on the brink of a technological revolution that will fundamentally alter the way we live, work, and relate to one another. In its scale, scope, and complexity, the transformation will be unlike anything humankind has experienced before. We do not yet know just how it will unfold. But one thing is clear, the response to it must be integrated and comprehensive, involving all stakeholders of the global polity, from the public and private sectors to academia and civil society. And that was one of the conclusions that comes from the report. And the author explained here, the first industrial revolution used water and steam power to mechanize production. The second used electric power to create mass production. The third used electronic and information technology to automate production. Now the fourth revolution, industrial revolution, is building on the third, the digital revolution, that has been occurring since the middle of last century. It is characterized by a fusion of technologies that is blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. So these things are all, and that's why we get things that are very challenging to us. If I look at a few examples of what I've experienced, just for interest, there's the report from the World Economic Forum, the future of jobs, very, very interesting one. And there's specifically something on page 90, which I was worried about. It says here at the bottom of, I think it's on the next one, the next graph. I'll talk about it now. But it states there that South Africa's statistics are not all available. However, it is used in some of the actual usage of of the stats that they've made. So last year, the end of last year, round about, it was mid-November, our health sciences faculty asked me to do this presentation. And I thought, one way of doing this might be not to use a PowerPoint, Def 1 PowerPoint, but rather maybe to use a little video and just show them the scope of where the tendency of society is going to. We look at the stats now. And in this video, I just started. I'm definitely not going to play the video for you. There's no sound. I taught them through the video. It was just about inventions and what would the future look like. And these things are taking place. People are printing organs with 3D printers. And when I mentioned to the lot of medics there that they claim that in 2035 you will be able to buy organs off the shelf. That can fit you. So they all laughed, and I said to him, no, internal organs, those are. So if you look at what, so they're actually printing it. That's called a doodler. There's a prosthesis. Medical students don't have to dissect real cadavers anymore. It is projected there. It's done with a 3D printer, and it gives them the look and the feel of everything. There's the heart. It's printed. So I'm just going to run through this. The fetus is now scanned and printed, and now you don't get a little picture of the sonar of the baby in the womb anymore. You can have a little statue you can put on your fire. There is, can you see there, it's been done now, and they're printing artificial ears, skin we know. Hamlet is the actual part that I want to stand still at. Because it seems to me, last year I had to present a public lecture on holograms. So I went to the investigating holograms in the classroom, and they're quite easy to make. And students make them now at us when they present things. They do it with normal transparency plastic, so that's what transparencies are good for now, for making holograms. We recycle in different ways. So this Hamlet system, it's a holographic system. It's developed by two medical doctors from the University of Cleveland. And that is how they lecture. That's how they present something in the class. But it goes a bit further. I feel like those infomercials, but wait, there's more. Heart surgery, virtual interaction. That's one of the University of Cleveland developments people are using. Why am I showing you this? You're working with students using technology, students who are going to take over when that surgeon retires. Will that student be able to do things like this? And the only representative of what is going on in practice is us. So we're quite in a difficult, in a tight spot here. And that's what I want to get to. There's the virtual glasses. You get the Google glasses, you get the virtual reality glasses, and now with the new Samsung smartphone, you also get glasses that's able to go into a holographic program, so it cannot project by itself. But that's how the classroom, there's the person that developed it. That's how the classroom is starting to look. Not the classroom of the future. It's starting to become things like this. So what do we do to adopt to this? That's my big question. Those are the skills needed. So if I look at, let me just continue this presentation. If I look at what's facing us at this stage, let's look at our current landscape. The old Socratic method of teaching, the sage on the stage, and the pools of wisdom dripping. No interaction, Then we heard it earlier on, our overhead projector we had in the 20th century classroom. Interesting, if I look at this type of class, do I really have to fit all of this in on one transparency? To fill the whole page, and it's a bulleted list. The moment I'm writing this down, I lose my space. And I have to go and check back and these bulleted lists. I can't read this further than the second row. Times New Roman 12-page boring. And if I look at this, I won't be able to write fast enough to kill this in 1.5 hours. And this thing is in my blind spot anyway. I cannot see what's going on with the transparency. So what do we do as lecturers and teachers? We just put it over onto PowerPoint. Good old death by PowerPoint, which is still a one-way communication. What we found now, with the latest research from the Y and the millennial generations, is, and by the way, I'm saying this again, you know why they call them the Y generation? These students, because they wear their pants down here, and when you turn around, you can actually see them. So what these students are doing now is they need multi-stimuli. What I'm doing here is at least we've got one stimulus from there, which cannot not exist if I don't talk. And further, other than that, it's one way. Students don't like that at all. Go look at the kids at home. They've got the cell phone up, they probably mix it or whatever. They don't use Facebook. They say Facebook is for old people, so they don't use Facebook anymore. They've got earphones up, the television's running, maybe the laptop or a tablet. By the way, a cell phone and a smartphone is just a mini tablet. They're using that as well. And they need all of this together to grasp one concept. And that's how they differ. I've mentioned this earlier on also from the research. I didn't put it in this presentation. There's a 20 kilometer strand of junk DNA that we have in the chromosome. They've seen that in the past 12 to 16 years now, the junk DNA strand has gotten shorter. So somewhere something is being activated. We don't know what it is yet. So we're working with students that are wired totally different from what we think and what we expect. Of course, our sustained chalkboard. I placed this slide in specifically for one reason. Did you know that whiteboards are now falling off the table? People don't use it anymore. They're now working with what they call an e-beamer, which means I can stand here and there's a camera, something similar to what's on those slides, but it's up here and I've got an interactive screen in front of me. People don't whiteboard anymore. Right. I'm talking about the interactive whiteboard where you can print what you've written on it. That was a fact. Okay, and it was so expensive, so sorry to those companies. These pictures are all taken in South Africa, except the last one, which I will point out to you. This is a university students. The Q-Ting Chinese school that we have there, right, they're in Joburg. If I look at, there's another, that's a public school, it's not a private school. They're using these things. So what do we do if we can't entertain them with these type of technologies? They won't believe us, never mind trust us. This is not in South Africa, but this is a Canadian university, and this is how engineers use tablets in the lecture. So you can see that's the only device they've got or that's visible there, and it is projected with that e-beamer onto one wall, and the lecturer and the students are busy assessing what is happening. These are South African photos, what is happening in industry, engineering, medicine. Oh gosh, these tablets. There we are. Accounting, hotel technology solutions. That I don't even have to say. Sport, the law. So my problem is, let's get that out. Yep. Right like this. Sorry, I'm kicking myself away here. It's because these things are too slow for me sometimes. And that's the problem with students. Why do they click and tap and tick? Because they get immediate response. Right. This is one of the reasons that Microsoft presented last year in an article for the reason why people are using devices that are mobile. Love to carry around the laptop or the notebook or work with the cloud. This is called the diagram of natural computing. If you look at it, you'll see that the mid-axis, the y-axis, refer from how far I am from a screen or the actual device. So to the top, I've got how far I am. At the bottom, how near I am to the screen. And then from left to right, on the x-axis, there's what is learned, what I must learn to do, and what is more natural. And in that quadrant, there I have remote controls. So we're all fairly comfortable with that. We're far from the screen, but we still have to adapt in using the buttons on the remote control. That quadrant refers to typing, or I point and I click. That quadrant, we have large gestures and talking. And can you see it's more natural? Like these Wii games the students and the children play, because it picks up gestures and talking. And then watch what we have here. Natural and near to the screen. Small gestures, facial expressions, talking and touching. That's why the kids adapt faster. What's our position in higher education? You come in there, the HOD wants a learning guide, the dean wants a learning guide, and you don't know, you're just a small fish, and you must provide these things and produce a lot of rubbish as long as it's paper. And students can have it. And then they add articles like this in my thick learning guide. What do people call it? A study guide, which is something totally different. And this is the study guide. Well, why do you copy this? No, because students can't afford to buy the book to get the article. Have you heard of Google? So those things are fabricated and it changes. This I also had to add in to show you where lecturers are and where students are. I walked on campus at UJ and I just took my cell phone and I thought, let me take this little video. So there I'm walking on the corridors. There is a student, is working with a laptop. There are students sitting at the table, 2 laptops in front, and there's an iPad and another type of a tablet there. That student's leaving the lecture room, is putting away an iPad in his bag. Those students sit there, you see 2 laptops, there's an iPad, and I thought I'd turn back and check what the lecturer is using. The lecturer is using a document presenter. Right, so that's fairly acceptable because you can switch between
devices, students like it, they even remain because there's clearly no notes. Then I walked a bit on and I thought, gosh, what will I find? Oh my word, an overhead projector. No wonder there's one student in the class. So I just thought, and this is the reason why these things are happening, because of the cloud that we have now. Thank God for the cloud. This is for the 21st century student worldwide, doesn't matter where they live and where they come from. This is what industry uses. We cannot avoid the technology anymore. So it's down to us representing industry. And we must get these students ready. So the main problem here is this. The way we teach modern students in higher education is the actual marriage between what school children can do and what industry expects from us to do. So we're in a very tight spot. And if I refer back to that previous diffusion of innovation and the Gardner hype cycle, that gap that's getting bigger, I am quite worried. So we have to adapt. Those are abilities and basic skills needed, right. The abilities and basic skills and cross functions, skills needed to do other skills needed to do a job. They are there. And you can see what is now regarded as basic skills. Active learning, oral expression, reading comprehension, written expression, and a very important one at the bottom, ICT literacy. Basic skills. So if it's basic skills, it means to me, you must have it before you enroll at a university. So I don't know what one can assume from that. From this the World Economic Forum report, this is interesting. The dark blue is the impact of factors that are already felt in the world. South Africa is included in this graph. The lighter blue, the 2015 to 2017, lighter blue 2018 to 2020, and the grey 2021 to 2025. You can see there the impact right on top, mobile, internet and cloud technology. We feel the biggest impact now. The Internet of Things, new energy supplies and technologies, processing data. Interesting, the second one from the bottom, advanced manufacturing and 3D printing. And the aspect right at the bottom, advanced material and biotechnology. So this is what these students are going to use. If you look at those factors, they are actually the skills stability as we are experiencing it. So the first column is how unstable people experience it. So you will have a lot in industry having it, but a lot not having it. The gap is big. And then how stable it is in industry. And interesting there, the highest one is right on top, media, entertainment and information. 73% instability. Stability, 35% unstable. For interest there, this is also the change in demand for core work-related skills. What has got the largest impact and what not, and you can see there they are. Cognitive abilities, systems skills. So can I relate the world as a lot of interrelated systems? Complex problem solving, content skills, process skills, social, resource management, technical skills, and the physical abilities. Right, from that report, the skills we have now and the skills needed in 2020, there's only one that differs, and it is the third skill, creativity is needed. And there's two of them. Cognitive flexibility, and the most important one, then number 6, emotional intelligence. These students of us are actually, they're not cognitively and intellectually weak. They cannot take the punch of what's happening in higher education. That's why emotional intelligence is a skill needed. Right. I'm going to give you a handout just before I finish. And most of you who are in education or are working with education as a field itself knows Bloom's taxonomy, from what is the easiest to the difficult. So Bloom's digital taxonomy I will hand out to you. I've only got 50 copies, but it sounds as if I'm doing a promotion. I've got 50 copies, but you can share it, but when this is up on the website, you can download it. Or let's do what the students do. Just Google Bloom's digital taxonomy. Right, that's where I got it. And that will give you a clear idea of how something like Google is basic content skills needed. It is not advanced. So to say to a student in class, go and Google this for me, is an insult to that student. It's like someone coming to you and saying, can you please recite the Our Father to me? Okay, that's how it looks like. So I know this one is small, that's why I made a hard copy printout, but all the verbs and the keywords are in there. The most difficult creating verbs used is designing, constructing, and planning. Programming, filming, animating, blogging, video blogging, remixing, wiki, publishing, video casting. That's what students do to prove something. Right, so we've got a trend at UJ now, and that is we are looking at our different computer centers and computer laboratories, and we want to do away with about 5 of the laboratories. It's going to change into BYOD, B-Y-O-D, modern learning spaces. That stands for bring your own device learning space. All of them have got, like you see there, there's a plug where a phone or something can be charged. There's free Wi-Fi. Like I pointed out earlier on that repeater, you can see how it's going on as people are on Wi-Fi. So all the things are changing to this. If you look at there what's happening, these are actual lecturers working collaboratively in a group. There's a space for creating videos and a space for a few, for students to go and work and edit and do their things in a team. Those are a few, my time is nearly over, but these are a few ideas that we used. This has been released last week. Hanson Robotics from Silicon Valley is now checking out the open source artificial intelligence, which you can have access to. I work with e-handouts. Those are documents that I email or put up in the Blackboard learning management system for the students and for the lecturers, and it's an interactive one-pager that you can use with a mobile or a laptop. Wherever you tap on it, it takes you to places, lets you fill in forms in Google Drive, get the data on the voting poll immediately back. All of this I'll do tomorrow in the workshop. And mobility is huge amongst the students,
because you don't need a space to sit like this anymore when you can go mobile. On-site and online teaching is happening. Students now produce their own learning material. Earlier on we had a conversation and it's about a lecture that needs to be recorded for a specific purpose, and my suggestion was let the students record it for you. That's a way of shifting the responsibility to be learner-centered and for them, like in Mark's presentation, to be independent on what they do. Holograms in the classroom, and then I've got a few examples that I can show. Before I finish, what I want to show you is on the tablet, just plug it in here. All our departments now have this little connector, and this is what they use in the classroom. Right. And you can now, with your phone, of course, get a remote. You download it, it's free in the App Store and in Google Play Store. And you just take that little, or your cell phone, you can see the tablet's screen on your phone, and you can walk around and present from your phone. The tablet has got this connector. The latest projectors they placed in on our Soweto campus now have got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectors, so you don't even need to connect through a cable anymore. So these things are changing, and the students, the students can choose any app that they are comfortable with. And I never say to the lecturers, and they say, so what app do you suggest we use? They say, go Google it. Go Google it, find the app you are most comfortable with. Because there's up to 150,000 new apps per day. We don't prescribe, it's not textbooks anymore. Or use this app as an example. Nonsense, take the thing, play with it if you like it, use it. The students adapt to it so fast. And that's the excuse we're hiding behind. Do the students know how to do it? I asked the students, what do you understand under the term computer literacy? They said to me, if you can read with comprehension what is written on the screen. What did we say? Computer literacy is if someone can switch it on and use the mouse. We've got it totally wrong. I've got a lot of data to show that, you to see how students are picking their noses while they're at these computer literacy classes. Then they pitch up there in their first year, and I ask them, can you play a computer game? Yes, sir, I can do that. Then you are computer literate. Goodbye. Do I have to show a student how to double-click to open up Microsoft Word? So really, what we found now with our latest stats, and that's now from June 2015 to around about end of February, and everyone had registered this year, is that 98% of the students have smartphones. Those who do not have a smartphone have either a tablet or a laptop. So we gave them free Wi-Fi to do this. And those living in townships have got access, 2 out of every 10 who does not have the internet at home have got access to Wi-Fi or at a friend's house. So I don't think that type of a change is a factor, influential factor anymore. I've written that app there on top, and this is to accommodate the students. They download the app, it's free, so there they've got access to Blackboard, they've got access to the library, all the e-books, there's the buses, the timetables, emergency numbers, everything's available there. Because we use the LMS Blackboard, there's an example of how Blackboard looks like online. I'm live online now. So there's also another aspect, and that is I've gone offline now. This is the actual PGDIP HE.
closed it on Monday afternoon. It is a postgraduate diploma in higher education, where we incorporate all of this for our teaching staff at UJ. Which is again maybe a type of a historical repeat that we get, because earlier on, everybody lecturing in higher education had to get a tertiary education diploma. You weren't allowed to lecture if you didn't have that diploma in higher education. So now we're implementing this back again with the e-learning aspects. So that's just a few examples. There are so many things I can show you. That's why I said please stop, because else I'll go online and I'll start doing this stuff, and we can have a voting poll here in this room, and so it will go. But I hope that gives you an idea of the stance of where we are. My question still remains, and that is what Mark also mentioned earlier on. How will I assess this? And do I really need to assess this? Because if I can have this, or an e-portfolio, or a LinkedIn profile on the internet, isn't that already my portfolio? Do I really have to give marks for that? And I want to eradicate the incorrect use of the terms now, which I see in all the policies popping up. Formative assessment is not a nice word for a class test. And summative assessment is not a nice word for an exam. There are forms of assessment. We only know 2 examples. I think that's my story. Thank you very much.